Hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football. Welcome back to a live Manchester United news and transfer news show. So much news coming in today. I always say Monday and Tuesday is always crazy for news. There's always a lot of news going about because everything that happens over the weekend comes out Monday and Tuesday. And here we goes, for Manchester United have been confirmed today, and maybe there could be more, with an Ugarte breakthrough expected soon. There is actually reports saying that Manchester United are planning to bring Ugarte in before the Brighton game so they can register him ahead of the Brighton game, which is interesting. He's not in a pre-season, so I don't think he'd play in the Brighton game, but that's an interesting story about this that's an interesting story going about. There's a few rumours in regards to Ugarte and his potential move to United looking very close. McTOMINAY 30 million offer has been confirmed. Man United have received 25 and 30 million offers for Scott McTOMINAY, but he did not want to leave. Pellistri, here we go. Will Fish, here we go. Lots to get into. We've got 2 outs officially done, confirmed. Mejbri and Erikson also expected to leave. Lindelof, we've got an update on his situation. So yeah, please do hit the like button, guys. Of course, subscribe down below to Alice Talks Football if you're new, because when I say there's a lot to talk about, I mean there's a lot to talk about at the moment. There's so much in terms of Man United. Very credible journalists like Laurie Whitwell have said we're not signing a left back and giving some insight as well into United's plan. But I wanted to start with this story, a little bit off topic. I don't know the source, but it's been tweeted by a lot of aggregator accounts that Lindelof had surgery and is expected to be out a few weeks, and that Højlund is still out for 4 more weeks in regards to injury updates on United players. Now, I don't know how credible the source is. I've just seen a few aggregator accounts put this information out. I wouldn't be surprised. Lindelof has had surgery. He is going to be out for a few weeks. And obviously, Højlund is expected back mid-September. So that is 4 weeks' time anyway. So I'd assume that this is somewhat accurate, that Højlund is back in 4 weeks and Lindelof's going to be out for a few more weeks. But other than that, we've got Euro coming back in October time. And then that's probably the last of it on the injury front. But I want to talk about the summer changes, and then I want to talk about the transfer news as well. Scott has to wake up and realise time to go. He had better academy products. He knew it was time to go, yeah. Unless he's confident Napoli are going to buy him, and that's why he rejected Fulham. But Man United apparently got a 30 million bid from Fulham for McTominay, and that he turned that down as well. Alice, do you think we'll get top 4? I think we could. It just depends on what we do, other clubs do in the remainder of the window. But I do think we could get 4th or 5th. And I think 5th can get you in the Champions League. So I just want to quickly talk about this story before I get into transfer news, because Laurie Whitwell writes some really good reports on United. And I do want to get into elements of his story. But he said that Manchester United want to continue a policy of buying players at a younger end of the spectrum. Getting funds into the club is the priority at the moment. And then Samuel Lutko said it was apparent at the start of the summer United would not break the 60 million barrier for a signing. For years, City did the same. This common dominator, of course, is Omar Brada, and Erikson expressed the need for quality and quantity as well. So I feel this is a really interesting story. Ineos have sort of gone into this summer saying we're not going to spend over 60 million on one single signing, and we knew that Man United would have walked away if Bramford was anything over 60 million. And I really like that. You cannot make 100 million signings until you're second and you're like that one big signing away from winning a title and a rebuild. I think it is about making those 40, 50, 60 million signings, the odd 20 and 30 million deal here, and building a team. When you're second and you're challenging City and you're at the top and we're second and maybe we're missing that massive midfield sign, it's going to change everything. You spend 100 million on the Declan Rice like Arsenal did, and they took the title race to the final day. But I like that. No 60 million plus deals. It's about getting players in and stretching the budget. What Man United have done in the past is they've wanted maybe 5 different players in a window: a left back, a centre back, a right wing, a DM, and a striker. But then they go and spend 85 million on Anthony, and then they can't get that second attacker they wanted because they spent all the money on one player. Ineos is saying we want this, and this position to be ticked this summer, so we're not going to overspend past this, and this much on each position this summer. And I want to talk about what obviously Omar Barada said. Now, I watched an Omar Barada interview when he back in February, and Omar Barada spoke about how he has a set budget for every position, so they make sure that they get each position in the summer. So Omar Barada, when he was at City, might have 60 million on the centre back, 40 million on DM, 50 million on the winger, and he makes sure that he gets all those positions. So if the centre back goes over 60 million, he walks away, he goes for another centre back target. So he knows that he doesn't go into the season one player short. Pep didn't go into the season one player short. How many times have Man United gone into a season where we've made maybe 2 or 3 good signings, but we're still that DM short, or we're still that striker short? You know, Ollie, I remember we didn't get Bruno Fernandes to the winter, and I really like that from Barada. It's very much you've got 60 million max for each position. we want to get these 5 positions into United so we can allocate the budget between these 5 positions and not go over. So we address these 5 positions that Ten Hag need. It's sort of Omar Brada's approach. And personally, I really like that. That's what he did at Manchester City. And you can see him doing it at United rather than wasting all the money on an Anthony or a Harry Maguire. It's keeping within budget. And I think once we're back on track and we're getting into that second place, maybe you spend 100 million on, your Declan Rice type signing. But we're not in the position when we need a good 5 signings. We're not in a position to spend more than 60 million. I think it's about noticing what we need and going, well, look, there's a 100 million player out there, but if we get a 100 million player, we can't get this player and this player. We ultimately need to cover 5-6 positions, not 2 or 3. So it's about spending the money wisely as well. But I'm going to get into the transfer news now. But I just really liked those 2 stories coming out. I thought it gave a nice bit of context about what's going on at Manchester United as well. Guys, please do hit the like button if you have not already. I want to see if we can hit 500 likes by the end of today's live show. And of course, subscribe down below if you're new. We're on the road to 90,000 subscribers by the end of the transfer window. We're on 89,782 subscribers. So we're 18 subscribers away from 89.8k. So not long to go. But let's dive into the news. Let's dive into the Here We Go. So we've got 2 Here We Goes coming out today. This is the first Here We Go we got. Facundo Pellistri to Pan. Here we go. Exclusive story confirmed. An agreement has been sealed at a €6 million fee, which is it. Permanent deal with sell-on clause for United while Pellistri signs a long-term contract. €6 million. That's £5 million for Pellistri. I think we could get £15 million for Pellistri. I really do. And that is a prime example of we can't sell our young talents. But I think once we get back in place and we get the transfer structure in place in 2-3 windows, I think we'll be able to be like Chelsea and be able to be like City, where we're able to sell our young talents for a bit more. I like that there's a sell-on clause. I like that there's I think it's about 50% sell-on clause in the deal. So if he does well and they sell him for 20 million, we'll get 10 million for that. So I guess we get 15 million in total for Pellistri. I like that there's a sell-on clause, but I do think €6 million is a joke. That is £5 million. I do really think that €6 million is a joke. But we've got the Here We Go for Facundo Pellistri coming in this morning as well. So I mean, all the money we can take, but it's like Donny van der Beek. We're selling players for peanuts. We're absolutely selling players for peanuts yet again as well. Fifth in the Champions League for Bundesliga and Serie A, not the Premier League. Yeah, this season, but this season coming, if the Premier League clubs do well in Europe and United finish 5th, then we'll get in the Champions League next season. Obviously, Italian and Bundesliga clubs did best in Europe last year, so that's why their 5th place is in there. But yeah, if United do well, if English clubs do well in Europe, 5th place can get us in the Champions League as well. Omar Brada is the best job ever. He basically plays F2P weekend event from live service game. What? I have no idea what you mean. I have no idea what you mean, but cool. Right, let's dive into the next story as well. But yeah, €6 million I think is a bit low for Pellistri. In all honesty, the fact we're sticking to budget tells me that we're not backing Ten Hag and that he'll be gone by the end of the season. It's not about sticking to budget. It's about sticking to budget for each position. If we overspent on De Ligt and Mazraoui, we couldn't get Ugarte and we couldn't get a DM. And if we went into this season without a DM, we'd be in trouble. If anything, I think it's more backing Ten Hag. If we overspend on the centre back and the left back and the striker budget, and then we go into the season with no new midfielder, which is exactly what Arnold or Murta would have done, let's be honest, then Ten Hag goes into the season 1 midfielder short, which was such a key position that we needed. Like, let's be honest, would you rather us brought Braithwaite and De Ligt and then not brought in Ugarte, or Yoro and De Ligt with Ugarte? It'd be Yoro and De Ligt with Ugarte, and Ineos will spot on at that. Ineos know that they've only got a certain amount to spend, and they know that if they overspent on their centre-back, they couldn't get Ten Hag a DM, and they can physically not go into next season without a DM. So if anything, it's actually backing Ten Hag the right way rather than overspending on this player, because how many times has Ten Hag gone into a season, he's 1 player short? Ten Hag was a striker short last year because Højlund was so young. Ten Hag was a midfielder short the year before. How many seasons have we gone into a window where Ten Hag's gone into the season 1 player short? Because we didn't do that in the window because we overspent on Anthony, for example, as well. So it was also said on Pellistri, just to give you a bit more insight and information on this deal as well, that the final agreement between Pellistri will be finalised in the next few hours and the player could arrive in Greece as early as tomorrow. That was said last night, so that's today. And United have agreed a deal for Facundo Pellistri to move to Pan worth €6 million. They're urgently trying to register him for UEFA competitions as well. So Pellistri is bish bash bosh gone. Yoro, I believe, will be far better than Jarrod. His potential's unreal. I think with Braithwaite, he's a little bit better now when he's got Premier League proven and he can play on the left. But at the end of the day, I do think Yoro, in terms of talent and ceiling, could be even higher and better as well. If Ugarte flops, we're obligated to buy him. Potentially, but the obligation to buy maybe like he has to play a certain amount of minutes or something for it to be an obligation to buy. Be interesting to see what the price is. Obviously, there's a report coming out that it's going to be done before Brighton, but who knows? Flex says, I think we should keep McTominay and let Pellistri, Mesbury, Sancho go for Tony and Ugarte. Fair enough. I'm not sure about Ivan Toney. If he wants to go to Saudi, that's not the kind of attitude I want at Manchester United as well. Panathinaikos. Am I saying that right? I don't know. Anyway, I'm talking total budget, not per player. No, I get what you mean, but I think we have a certain budget per player. Potentially we can go over the total budget depending on FFP and depending on sales, but I think it's really important that we stick with budget per player so we can get all the positions we need to address done. So let's go back into the next story. Let's get back into the next bit of information. So it's also been confirmed, as well as Pellistri leaving, Will Fish is leaving United. So 21-year-old centre-back Will Fish will be leaving United to join Cardiff on a permanent transfer. So we've got 2 exits confirmed today. So here we goes. Will Fish, Pellistri. We're only getting about 7-8 million for the both of them, but that can go back in. That can just help invest into the squad. So I want to dive into some stories about McTominay and the truth about the potential McTominay sale and what's been said on that. So this is really interesting because we reported yesterday that apparently Fulham are more than ready to make a 30 million offer for McTominay, and Fulham are willing to pay 30 million for United, willing to give United 30 million for McTominay, and United are willing to accept 30 million for McTominay. But we were saying on my live show yesterday, I guess it all rides on if McTominay wants Fulham. We were told that Fulham were going to make the bid, Fulham were going to pay what we want. So it was like, okay, well, now it all depends on does McTominay want Fulham? There was some indications that he would be open to the Fulham move, and he did want the Fulham move. But again, nothing was massively confirmed there. Well, now we're getting information to say that actually he doesn't want Fulham and he only wants to leave United if basically big clubs come in. So this was said. Napoli sporting director Giovanni Manna has travelled to England for a face-to-face discussion over Scott McTominay, and progress has been made. However, there's been no control agreement as been suggested. So the very credible Laurie Whitwell. Now, Laurie Whitwell is probably top 3 journalists in the United space in terms of his credibility, in terms of the information he gets and the exclusives he gets. He works for The Athletic with Ornstein. Very good information. Laurie Whitwell, you can trust him as a source. He said that the Napoli sporting director is in England for face-to-face discussions over a McTominay deal, and there has been progress. But he's saying terms haven't been agreed. So there has been reports from Italy that McTominay's agreed terms with Napoli. That's not true. Now, Perdella has been saying for the last week that McTominay's focus is Napoli, but a few English sources said that he wants to stay in England. Now, we're now getting confirmation from really reliable sources that he wants United or a big club like Napoli. So Perdella, and I will give credit to Perdella has put out some really good and accurate information on Scott McTominay this last week. He seems to be spot on with it. So big ups to him. We'll keep an eye on what he says on this. But Scott McTominay deal's made progress. It's confirmed by Laurie Whitwell, one of the best United sources, that there is progress being made on the McTominay deal, and Napoli are there talking with McTominay, but there hasn't been a contractual agreement. It was said that Fulham have distanced themselves from Scott McTominay when they realised he was willing to wait for offers from other clubs. Galatasaray have made an attractive offer, while Fenerbahce are also interested. So it's also been said that Fulham have distanced themselves from McTominay because they realised he was willing to wait for other clubs. And that's maybe why the McTominay thing is dragging on, because now Napoli have shown interest in McTominay. He looks to be waiting for Napoli, is I think what Laurie Whitwell is suggesting. And he's suggesting that he did have offers coming in. It was then said by Sky that Fulham offered 25 million, including add-ons to Manchester United for Scott McTominay, the same amount they paid for Burge. And that, Fulham could not press ahead with the McTominay deal because the player hadn't given the green light. Looks to be the case with McTominay as well. PSG prepared to sanction a loan with obligation to buy for Manuel Ugarte to join United. Talks positive, but PSG in no rush and happy to let negotiations run into next week if needed. We will get into the Ugarte news in a second. PSG just want to be basically biatches about it and make it as difficult as possible for us, as they do as well. But yeah, McTominay seems to be focused on Napoli and only interested in leaving United if, he believes it's the right move for him and it's a bigger move. That seems to be the case with the whole McTominay deal as well. It has been confirmed that Christian Erikson has been offered to Ajax. We will get into those stories. Manchester United will not sign a left back, and there's a lot of updates that Christian Erikson could be leaving Manchester United. Maxi Odelaney is also in talks to join a team in Warsaw as well. So there's a couple more outs that potentially close on the cards that we're going to cover in a second, people, as well. Let's hope it's not a summer we fail to capitalise on interest in Scott. Yeah, because if we don't sell him this summer, we lose him for free. And we've got an opportunity to make about 30 million pure FFP profit on Scott McTOMINAY, which is just going to give us, maybe not necessarily this summer, but will just give us more money going into next summer if we don't buy anyone to replace him this summer. So for me, I think it's really important that we do capitalise on the fact that there's a lot of interest in Scott. The player could be open to moving to Napoli. He's got 1 year left on his deal. We know he's not good enough to start for us. He's a good squad player, he's a good utility player, but ultimately you could move him on and invest those funds into a starter. So hopefully we do capitalise on that. So let's dive on to the next bit of the story, which is obviously news on the Ugarte loan deal. So Fabrizio Romano said last night, understand Manchester United are working on a loan deal with an obligation to buy for Manuel Ugarte. Negotiations to continue with this formula as George Mendes is leaving talks with PSG. Ugarte wants United and is pushing a lot of the personal terms agreed in July. So it was confirmed last night that United are now working on a loan deal for Manuel Ugarte. It was then said this morning, coming in today, it's like a daily situation. Manuel Ugarte is pushing like crazy to join Manchester United. A loan with an obligation to buy will allow the club to start playing from next summer and spread the payment over several years, says Romano. PSG are prepared to sanction a loan with an obligation to buy for Manuel Ugarte to join Manchester United. Talks are positive, but PSG are in no rush, are happy and in no rush and happy to let negotiations run into next week if needed. So it's basically been said that we're now discussing a loan with an obligation to buy for Ugarte. PSG are not bothered about rushing the deal. They know that United obviously want this guy because Sander Berge is gone, which has put us in a bit of a weaker position. And PSG are more than willing to let this deal drag on a little bit, which is annoying. But I think Man United are also willing to let this deal drag on because United know that PSG also need to sell him. And if PSG don't sell him, they're not going to be happy. But PSG also know we need to buy him. And if we don't buy him, we're not going to be happy, which means maybe the two clubs should meet in the middle. And a loan with an obligation to buy, in my opinion, is a bit of a bargain from Ineos because that means we can defer the payment to next year. And that gives us funds to invest elsewhere, stay within FFP and all of that stuff as well. Now, I think PSG, they are difficult to negotiate with. They're not being reasonable in this Ugarte deal, and they just need to get over themselves and give us Ugarte for a good price. And I think that's the frustrating situation. Ugarte is pushing for the move. You told him in May he wasn't in your plans, so you might as well let Ugarte leave because you did tell him in May, you're not on my plans, mate. It's just PSG being difficult and making it difficult for Ugarte and making it difficult for United. But there is news and reports saying that this deal is very, very close as well. I've got a feeling Ugarte coming on a loan gives Ineos the funds to get Bramthwaite on deadline day. I mean, I'd be very shocked if we got Bramthwaite on deadline day because I don't think we need him. I don't think we need a third centre-back, but potentially it gives us the funds to do a surprise deal. I do think after Ugarte, there's going to be one more deal, and I think it could be a bit of a surprise. I don't know what it will be. I don't know who it will be. I don't know what position it will be. It will depend on ounce. If Sancho goes, if Mejbri goes, if Erikson goes, if McTominay goes, I think it would be a second midfield signing. If Sancho goes, it could be a second attack signing. But I think Ugarte will come in on loan, and I have a feeling there could be a surprise deal there because if Sancho, Mejbri, Erikson and McTominay all leave, there will definitely be another signing on top of Ugarte that could maybe play more advanced in midfield and on the wing. I do believe that as well. I think we could get a few surprises this transfer window. Ugarte has to happen. Casemiro's talent as a number 6 has waned, although showed against Fulham he has the vision to develop into an influential number 8. Weirdly, I don't see Casemiro as an 8, but I know what you mean. Weirdly, he looked better when he was getting in those 8 positions versus Fulham. He was our number 1 creator versus Manchester City in the Community Shield, and he was our number 1 creator versus Fulham, and he had very good games versus Fulham and Manchester City, but I think Casemiro is playing to the max he can physically to keep up with the game, and I think he could wear out, but I was really impressed with what I saw from Casemiro in these first 2 games of the season. Alice, if Ugarte is a loan and we sell Scott, where do we use that money? An experienced striker? I don't think so. We have obviously been linked to Ivan Toney. I think more winger, to be honest, but I think only winger if Sancho goes, someone that can, I don't know, I think maybe a number 8. I don't know. I'm saying a lot of things here. I think if McTominay and Sancho go, I'd say a number 8. I think we want someone who's probably good on the ball in midfield, but maybe a winger, maybe a striker. I don't know, but I do think there could be, particularly if Sancho and McTominay go, another deal after Ugarte in the maybe 40 million range. United could do something quite surprising. Like, I wouldn't rule it out unless they're saving funds. Some people say for Bramthwaite and Wharton next year. Potentially as well. Maybe a Reguilon surprise signing. I feel like if we sold Sancho, McTominay and Pellistri and Mejbri and Erikson, we'd have the funds to maybe do another 50 million signing. I just don't know who it would be. We have to be tight with funds and FFP. If we loan Ugarte without sales, we can't see that much more coming into the market. Yeah, obviously what we do at the end of the day will depend on the sales and how much progress is made there as well. Chiesa at Juve, £15 to £20 if Sancho go. maybe we start thinking about life after Bruno. I think next summer we have to think about life after Bruno a little bit more. I mean, my dream signing to replace Bruno would be Cole Palmer in the number 10 role, but he's just signed a new deal at Chelsea, and that's not going to be cheap. I think Cole Palmer's one of those where if we come second and we're really close to winning the league, and we need that one signing because Bruno's about to go or starts to drop off in maybe 3 signings, that's when you go for a Cole Palmer, in all honesty. Let's dive into some more news on midfield exits, as we have been talking about the exits, and ultimately what we can do in terms of incomings will massively depend on the exits. So Christian Erikson has been offered to Ajax. Manchester United are asking for at least £5 million. So I think £5 million is an absolutely reasonable price for Christian Erikson. Man United are more than willing to let him go on the cheap. £5 million, you get a player of Eriksson's quality, who I thought was very good for Denmark in the Euros. And there's no doubt, while he doesn't have the legs to play in Ten Hag's system, there's no doubt that Erikson still has some quality. And I think at Ajax, in that league, I think he'd be phenomenal for them. So I hope Ajax go and do that deal. They've just lost their first game of the season. They don't look great. There's a bit of pressure on them to do that deal now. I think Erikson to Ajax could really advance in the coming days, particularly with Ajax not starting the season the best. It was also said that Burnley are interested in Hannibal Mejbri. A loan with an obligation to buy or a permanent transfer is discussed. I think we need a permanent transfer for Mejbri. He's got 1 year left on his deal. We can't lose him for nothing. I think Mejbri's a player we get $5 million for. For Pellistri, we get $5 million for. Erikson, we get $5 million for. Those 3 are out, we get $15 million for them. McTominay leaves, we maybe get $25 million. We'll give it 30 because PUF have pre-profit. That takes us to $45 million. And Sancho leaving could probably give us about £35 million, which could take us to maybe about 80 million in sales before the end of the window, which I think would give United the budget to invest further as well. Oh, my laptop was glitching there. I don't know. A big black screen just appeared over my laptop for like 2 seconds. So I don't know if you guys saw that. Maybe it was a glitch on my end as well. I think Ugarte, here we go today or tomorrow. I thing is, with Ugarte, it's either going to drag on to the end of the window, but it's also so close to being done that we could get a here we go today or tomorrow. And I've said this for a week, so I don't like to repeat myself. But it's like, we know Ugarte is so close. It's just about getting that final breakthrough. Like, everything else is done. So it could happen today. It could happen tomorrow. But also because of PSG wanting to be difficult and everything, it could also be dragged out into the end of the window. It's like a bit of a mixed bag of Ugarte of, we could get here we go. But also they're willing to drag it out to the end of the window just to save a little bit of money, which is annoying. Burnley got 25 million to buy Hannibal for 10 million. Yeah, I think Hannibal would be a good signing for Burnley as well. I think he would play well in the Championship. I think he's a good player there. I think we could be able to get 10 million for Hannibal if we were Manchester City or Chelsea, but because we're United and he's got 1 year left on his deal, we may have to accept something on the cheap in the £5 million range as well. With Ineos' more sustainable mindset, do not see us spending massive fee on one player anytime soon. Exactly. I think until we're really up there where we need to be, and we know that we're like one big signing away from really pipping City, I don't see them spending big. And I think that's probably the right approach as well. Evan Ferguson for 50 million if we make all them sales. I like Evan Ferguson, but he didn't have the best year at Brighton last year. We've got Serti, you've got Hoyd, we've already got 2 other young strikers in there. I don't think there's a need for Evan Ferguson, as good as he is. But he's one of those that you would have liked initially, but I think now we've got Hoyland and Xerxes, it's probably not something to completely watch as well. Musiala would be a good option, but I don't know if he'd come to United. Obviously, he grew up in England, was in the Chelsea Academy, so maybe he'd happily go to England and speak English after he leaves Bayern. I think he could leave Bayern in the next 2 years, but I'm not sure. I'm also more sceptical about Bundesliga talents. Like Musiala and Wirtz are the 2 most obvious names to replace Bruno, but I'm very sceptical about Bundesliga talents and their numbers, which is why my dream to replace Bruno is Cole Palmer, because I think he's best as a 10, but can play as an 8. And I think the reason I'd say Cole Palmer is the perfect Bruno Fernandes replacement is 1, Cole Palmer loves Man United. He loves the club. He's a Man United fan. 2, he's proven in the Premier League. But 3, Bruno, how many times has Bruno got crazy goals and assist numbers and absolutely carried a shocking squad? What did Cole Palmer do last year? Crazy goals and assist numbers, good at scoring penalties, carried a shocking squad. Cole Palmer, for me, not going to happen for at least 2 seasons, and I don't know if it will happen, but he's a big Man United fan, is the perfect replacement for Bruno Fernandes. You've got goals and assists in a crap squad. He's a brilliant penalty taker. He works hard. He can play as a 10. He can play out wide if he's needed. He's got a good injury record. Changes the game. Bruno's one of the only players in football that can go into an average team and put out these crazy goals and assist numbers like he did in his first season. So if I was to replace Bruno, it would be Cole Palmer, but we don't need to replace Bruno for 2 years. I think next window we'll be out getting 1 or 2 other signings to elevate us a level, and then the window after is maybe when United try to go big for Cole Palmer if he's still performing at that level. I think This window, you bring Ugarte in. Next window, there's probably another defender coming in. There's probably another winger coming in. There's probably another midfielder coming in. You get your £350 million signings next window. The window after, Bruno's into his 30s. Maybe Bruno's dropped off a bit. You go big on a Cole Palmer. But again, that's a very long road ahead. So, yeah. He's on a ridiculously long contract and will cost over 100 million. It's one of those when Bruno's dropping off and you're like that 100 million signing away from winning the league. We can't magically generate interest for unwanted players. Greek teams don't have much money. Yeah, I think we have to let Pellistri go on the cheap because Greek teams don't have much money. There was Italian teams interested in Pellistri, and I think with £5 million, I'm surprised Bologna and a couple of those Italian teams that inquired about Pellistri didn't go for him more, unless Pellistri chose the Greek club because obviously they've got a Uruguayan manager, which he was attracted to. But I was quite surprised that we didn't get a little bit more interest in Pellistri. I easily thought we would have got 10 million for Pellistri. Apparently, we rejected a 30 million bid for Ahmad this summer, actually. So I think if we can get 30 million for Ahmad, we could get 10 million for Pellistri, but apparently not. So let's talk about Jadon Sancho and Jadon Sancho's future at Manchester United as well. So we have got some updates on Sancho, potentially Chelsea coming in, having a slight interest in Sancho and some potential developments there. Also, guys, we're 12 subscribers away from 89.8k. So if you're watching right now and you're not subscribed, it'd be greatly appreciated if you do subscribe to Alice Talks Football. I do 2 to 3 pieces of content a day, keeping you guys up to date with all the latest Man United news. I'm on the road to hit 90,000 subscribers by the end of the transfer window. We've got 10 days to gain 212 subscribers. 10 days to gain 212 subscribers to hit 90k by the end of the window. So if you are not subscribed, it'd be absolutely amazing if you could subscribe, hit the like button. But I do want to cover some news on Jadon Sancho and Jadon Sancho's potential future at Manchester United here as well. So what's been said on Sancho? It's been said some people at Manchester United sense that Chelsea may make an approach for Jadon Sancho. It's an open situation. PSG have been consistently linked with Sancho, but has not been part of their plans so far this summer. A number of European clubs exploring a deal for Jadon Sancho. As it stands, he stays, but one to watch in the final 10 days of the window. So what we've been told by Laurie Whitwell, and as I said earlier, Laurie Whitwell is one of the most credible and reliable sources of information out there, of Man United information out there. He's saying that some people at Man United sense that Chelsea may make an approach for Sancho. It's an open situation. PSG have constantly been linked with Sancho, but he's not part of their plan so far. And that there's a number of European clubs exploring a deal for Sancho. As it stands, he's likely to stay, but it's one to watch. Romano said it's a 60% Sancho stays and 40% he leaves. Romano is saying that there's now, Sky are now saying there's interest from Juventus. We've also been told by the very credible Laurie Whitwell there is interest, of course, from Chelsea as well. No, that's not us. Sorry, I thought Rich Romano tweeted something about us. It was not us as well. So I feel like Sancho could leave United. He wants to leave, and I think it's one to watch. But again, Sancho's a little bit more expensive. He's on high wages, which makes it a difficult deal to do. There's interest, but Man United have made it very clear they're not going to sell him on the cheap. In terms of other United plans as well, what is the plan for the defence? What is the plan for left back? What is the plan for just the general squad next year as well? Because we've got a few interesting updates coming in on United's future plans as well. Worry with Sancho is the drama. Anytime he isn't picked, there's speculation. That's the only worrying thing. My most worrying thing about Jadon Sancho is completely the drama as well. Like, I think Sancho's a good player. I think he could offer something because he can play central and he can play out wide. But considering he's probably not going to be the most happy, it's like I can't be bothered to deal with the drama this, the drama that for Sancho, and moving him on may be the best option. 100% agree. So what else has been said by United's plans? It said provisionally United will need a centre-back, a left-back and 2 midfielders next summer. So that's what United's saying. So Braithwaite, Wharton, Luke Shaw replacement, maybe a number 8. Next summer is probably what we'll be looking at doing, is what's been said by Samuel Luckhurst. Maybe an extra forward if Rashford and Anthony do not improve their form over the next 9 months. He doesn't include Sancho in that because maybe he's not expected to stay at United beyond the season. So that has been said. We'll be looking at a centre-back, 2 midfielders, a left-back and a winger next season. Depending on how Ugarte does, we'll probably be looking at maybe a number 6 for depth that's cheaper, or we go all out for Wharton, and then maybe someone that can play as a number 8 that can be Maino back up. And then United will look at another centre-back. I don't know if it would be Braithwaite or not. It depends. Quite expensive. But if Everton get relegated, you could get Braithwaite on the cheap. And then potentially a winger, depending on the form of Rashford, Anthony, etc. I mean, Masraoui's here. Could he bring the best out in Anthony? That's what's been spoken about. I really don't think so as well. According to the Sun, United dropped interest in Ivan Toney. I mean, I wouldn't believe anything that's come out from the Sun if I was going to be totally honest with you, but I also do believe we've probably dropped interest in Ivan Toney because I don't think it's a deal that makes 100% sense. And I don't think it's a deal that I sit there thinking we massively need to do that. We must do that deal. La-di-da, 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 if I'm going to be totally honest with you guys. But continuing on into the next bit of information, Maxi Odide is in talks to join Liga Warsaw. United prepared to sell him for a small fee and a large percentage on sale. Maxi is keen on the move. So I like this guy. I think he's one of our most talented academy players, and we seem to be selling a lot of them. But ultimately, we're selling them for cheap with large sell-on clauses. So if he does do well there and we get, we have a 60% sell-on clause, let's say, and they sell him for 10 million, we get an extra 6 million for him, and that kind of stuff is what United are doing. But what has actually been said in regards to United's defensive plans, their plans to sign a left back, it's been said that Manchester United have decided not to sign a left back by Laurie Whitwell. So that's interesting, and I think that's because one, Mazraoui can play left back, Dalot can play left back, Martinez can play left back. Two, Harry Amos is very, very highly rated, and three, Luke Shaw is expected back in like 2 weeks if all goes to plan. Because it was said, provided Luke Shaw does not suffer an unemptied setback, he is due back this September after internationals, which is why United no longer plan to sign a left back, which is fair because, to be honest, does Chilwell really lift us up a level, and is he going to stay fit? Probably not. So that's fair, I get that. It was also said Evans, Lindelof and Erikson can be released. Maguire could be, depending on his form this term as well. So if we do not sell Erikson to Ajax for 5 million this summer, he will be released. Evans is probably just staying for another year for depth, and I'm 99% sure this is Evans' last season at United, and he's probably going to have a bit part to play this season as depth and experience and someone in the dressing room. Lindelof, I think, will be released because United just don't rate him. And then Maguire, if he has a really good season, we probably extend his deal by 1 year. If he doesn't have a good season, we probably do what we did with Varane, who, to be fair, Varane had a good season. I think it was his wages, and I think because of Maguire's wages, he will need to justify it. But the thing is, it's annoying that, Maguire could go for free next year. Someone we paid £80 million for could go for free. But if we extend his contract, does that necessarily mean we're still going to get 20 million for him? If we extend his contract, he'd probably just stay and take the wages and stay here another year. So Maguire depends on form, but Evans, Lindelof and Erikson, if they're not sold this summer, will leave for free. Obviously, Evans isn't going to be sold this summer. He's not up for sale, is what's been said as well. Maxi is good. Sales with big buyback clause are better than loans. Yeah, to be fair, if there's a nice buyback clause in there and he does really well, and with his talent, it's definitely a decent option. Seems a bit risky. Only right back options shouldn't be a main left back cover as well. I agree. I think it's because Malas is back in October, Luke Shaw's back in 2 weeks, and Leach could play there. But I personally would have just looked at getting Reguilon in on a 6-month deal to December again, just to make sure, because if something does happen to Mazraoui, who is injury prone, you're back to Martinez playing left back, and I don't think Martinez looked very good at left back versus Manchester City, in all honesty as well. We desperately need a left back before this window closes. Massive mistake if they don't learn from last season. I would have got Reguilon in just for 6 months if I was going to be totally honest. But I can understand it to an extent of like, is it a must? Is it a need? But it's a risk. It's like, at the end of the day, we could bring in a left back and not need him at all. But Mazraoui is injury prone. And Luke Shaw is injury prone. Malas is injury prone. Harry Amos isn't still as ready yet. I personally would go get a left back on the cheap, but it's not the end of the world. I can see why United are doing that. You just can't rely on Malassi and Shaw to stay fit. If Sancho doesn't leave, I think Erik ten Hag mustn't play him, force him to go at Christmas. I think that would just cause internal issues, and that would also reduce his price tag at Christmas time as well, which means we may have to sell him on loan or get him out on the cheap. So I think the best thing we can do is make sure that Sancho and ten Hag has a really good relationship, and they're in a really good place relationship-wise, so that, we can look to sell Jadon Sancho for the most amount of money, because teams won't go, oh, United need to sell him. Oh, he's fallen out with the manager. United need to sell him. Oh, no, he's playing well. He's getting on with the manager again. United don't need to sell him, so we're going to have to bid a decent fee to get Sancho, rather than teams thinking, oh, we can get Sancho on the cheap now. Like that's one thing we've got to keep an eye on as well. But yeah, I mean, there is fears about the left back situation. 10 million for Alfie Doughty is good business, but I do think because they rate Luke Shaw, or they're going to go really big for a left back next year, I'm not sure. But I would look at Reguilon if needed. Anthony could cover left back when needed. Honestly, Anthony's probably been better at left back than right wing for United as well. So let's dive into some more news. So, has also been said by Luckhurst that United sources have stressed this summer The United also have stressed this is the summer of budget discipline and swift market action. Current summer outlay stands at 155.35 million, including add-ons with upfront sum of 139 million. So 139 million, but we sold Greenwood, we sold a few other players. I think our net spend is just under 100 million this summer, and obviously we spread out across 5 years because of FFP. So I think United are in quite a good position financially compared to maybe what was first thought. I'll see if I can find something that was shared about United's financial position and all of that as well. So let's have a look at this. Give me one sec. I'm trying to find something here. Oh, interesting. Breaking news. It said that Vitek is close to joining Austrian side. BW Linz on loan. So Vitek's about to go out on loan. And that PSG are interested in Tyrone Malacia, but they've abandoned their pursuit over concerns about his fitness as well. It's just a story coming in that there actually is clubs interested in Tyrone Malacia, but they are very concerned about his fitness. So I didn't even think anyone had an interest in Tyrone Malacia this summer. So it's interesting to know that there was some kind of interest on Tyrone Malacia this summer. So this was apparently United's actual spend this summer when you take into account how much we'll spend this year and how transfer fees work and how we spread it over multiple years here. So this is something that's been said that's quite interesting here. So Manchester United have a negative net spend plus wages on the books of about 29 million compared to last year while improving their first team and overall squad. So if you look at what Man United have done so far this summer, we've actually been quite good efficiently. So we've made 17.8 million profit a year in wages. So we've made 18 million profit in wages so far. In terms of transfer fees, we're bringing in about 11 million in terms of profit because of obviously, it goes over and over the years in regards to FFP. And then total impact on PSR has only been £29 million. So it's not actually been a massive loss PSR wise. And he's been very smart about that to allow us more time for spending in the window as well, which is definitely a big positive as well. Do you think there'll be a sell-on clause on Pellistri? Yeah, I don't think there's a buyback clause for Pellistri. I think there'll be a sell-on clause of about 50% is what is being reported. I think buyback clauses on the really young ones, sell-on clauses on the ones you think that aren't going to be good enough for United, but you want to make a bit more money for, I think is what you've got to do. Alice, has PSG agreed a loan deal with Ugarte? I mean, it's not been agreed. Nothing's been agreed between PSG and United. It's just that PSG are willing to do a loan deal for Ugarte. Nothing's done. But, we should get some updates coming in on Ugarte situation as well. Guys, please do hit that like button. Of course, subscribe down below to Alice Talks Football if you're new and want to stay up to date on all the latest Manchester United news, transfer news, updates and more. I go live every single morning, sort of around 11 a.m, every single evening around 5 p.m. on the channel, keeping you guys up to date on all the latest United news as well. The latest to watch is Ugarte on loan. Ugarte on loan is definitely the latest to watch in regards to Manchester United. There's expected to be some big movement on that as well. So I think we could get a breakthrough in the coming days, or it could drag through to the end of the window. It's definitely going to be one to watch in regards to Manchester United and potential business as well. But apparently United are not going to sign a left back, which definitely is going to have some question marks around it as well. But no, we've not agreed to deal with Ugarte. There's no agreement with Ugarte. It's just that PSG have said, look, we're willing to do a loan deal, but they're still far from an agreement. For all those asking if we've agreed a deal in regards to Ugarte, we have not. It's just that PSG have agreed to do a loan deal with us if we can find an agreement on the obligation to buy, which is what we're working on now. So there's no advancements. But look, we're 7 subscribers away from 89.8k. Only 7 more people need to subscribe for us to hit 89.8k. So if you have not already, please do hit that subscribe button and of course like the video. But I am going to wrap up the live show here. So big up to everybody in the chat. Big up to everybody tuning in, and I will see you guys later. Bye.